Okay, guys, so I got a Corvette, and you're kind of looking at it here. In the previous video, I was talking about what I'm going to do with the Corvette and some issues that have come up in my life that are changing things. Now, keeping in mind that I have several kids already, so the fact that I am having another changes nothing about me doing things with the cars, because I already know how to play that tightrope there. But anyway, so what we've got here are a few pistons from my LT4 here, and these are out of an LT1, 1996 LT1 that is it supposedly was a cop motor, had iron heads, which I don't, at the end of the day, I don't think it was a cop motor. Might have been out of a cop car, but I don't think it was the original motor for the cop motor. But anyway, regardless, we've got cast iron head. This is an LT1 out of, say, a Caprice or something, right? But it is a 96. Those are from a 96. And then this here, 85, 86 Pontiac Persine. These are out of my grandpa's old 305. And then I just kind of want to show you guys something else really cool. This is a rotor. This is out of a Mazda RX-7, a 12A. Here's a good rotor that has been powder coated. Let me show you this. Not very many of you guys actually see these things. So, you know, especially in the V8 four-cylinder communities and stuff like that, you don't really ever see this stuff. And when I take my RX-7 to car shows, I take this one and I take that rotor too. This one here, actually, I'll give you a guess what happened, and you're probably wrong. Yes, there was something in the chamber, but what happened was apex. These are apex seals because they're at the apex of each corner, right? So the apex seals, one of the apex seals, and this was out of a race motor, basically chunked itself apart and started rolling around. So basically that'd be about the same as a piston ring breaking and galling. But unfortunately, what that ends up doing is it trashes this part of the motor, and they don't make these anymore. So it's not like, I mean, there's a company in Australia, I guess, that makes them, but good luck getting them over here. But anyway, for a reasonable price anyway. But anyway, that basically makes it to where, you know, you're basically trashed. You know, your motor's trashed. But anyway, so we're going to look at these pistons here, and one of them has run off here, so it's not that big a deal. That's what happens when you got kids. So the LT4, this one here was the cylinder that had the blown head gasket. The head gasket was blown. This was cylinder 1, and then the rest, it's just a mix of everything else, right? So as good as I thought my car was running, there were a lot of things that were combining together to make it not run efficiently at all. And I thought my car was running fantastic. I genuinely thought it was. But this right here gives you a good idea on what is actually happening here. Look at all that carbon, that nasty sooty buildup. This is a combination of things. First off, your EGR, that's one thing. But my heads look like this too. So my heads were flowing not anywhere near as good as they should have been. But anyway, what it is your PCV valve goes bad. And, well, a lot of people know how to change the oil. They know that they should make sure that their fluids are good. They know that they should turn the car on here and there. But they forget things like the PCV valve, right? Now, this here, well, let me talk a little bit more about this. Now, these pistons here are different than the LT1 pistons. They even have LT4 written on the bottom, right? Now, the thing that's different about these is these little scallops here are shallower than you would have on a standard LT1. And you guys can see the difference. And the reason why is because that's where they get their compression. Was it 10 to 5 or something, and then 10 to 8, 10-8 is your compression for your LT4. Just throwing that number. I'm probably wrong. You guys can correct me in the comment section. But anyway, PCV valve getting bad and not ever getting changed, combined with your EGR and other emissions crap that gets put on the car. And then, you get crappy injectors that aren't spraying right. The Multec injectors are probably the worst injectors that have ever been made, but whatever, GM. Bosch was making good injectors, but they stuck with the shit injectors. Yeah, pardon my French. But anyway, so this is basically what you got going on here, right? And you look at another motor, which has had some miles on it as well, and it's been beat. You got the side piston. The piston walls have damage. These here on the LT4, there was grit in the cylinders, and that's why I have scoring on the sides of the piston walls on this. But a couple of them actually are really bad, and the cylinder walls were actually really bad because of them too. And that's one reason why I'm boring over, because, anyway. There was an issue with the camshaft. I'll get into that later. But anyway, looking at these pistons here, these are from the LT1. Just kind of looking over all of them. This one here had coolant in it, so it was kind of clean. This one here also had coolant in it, so it's pretty clean. This one here had coolant in it, so it's pretty clean. You guys are getting the idea, right? The only real way to get rid of that stuff is to steam clean. Right? This one here is clean, so you guys are getting the idea, right? And here's one that is actually, probably how the rest of them actually started out looking. But, yeah. So you've got a situation like this, I know this motor had more miles on it than my car. My car had 126,000 miles when it went down, and this one here had probably close to 190,000 miles on it. So anyway, I'm missing a piston there, aren't I? 5, 6. Yes, I'm missing a piston. Piston's wandered off. I'm pretty sure I know where it's at. I saw one on an oil pan over there. So looking at this is, this one did have a blown head gasket. This was out of my grandpa's 305. This is an 84, 85, 86, somewhere in that realm. But you see the piston here. This is a dished piston. This is not a domed or flat top. That's a flat top. This is a dished piston. You can tell that's the one that had the bad head gasket. But looking at all this, it's not real bad. The funny thing is, this motor was an oil burner, and you can see, the different levels of soot. My grandpa did a good job of taking care of this motor. He changed the PCV valve all the time. Unfortunately, it did not at the end of its life, because it changed hands. It changed hands and ended up with an ex-mother-in-law, and I know she didn't change the oil unless I changed it, and it was she had it for a long time. It got to the point where the car was completely a non-salvageable item, but you know what? I got my grandpa's motor. That's all I really care, and the transmission. But anyway, as you guys can see, the contaminants in your fuel and you not taking care of your car is going to end up leaving your pistons looking like crap. Now, some of this stuff will break off and get in your piston rings, so just kind of keep that in mind. It reduces your compression ratio. So when you were driving and otherwise you were able to run great, the car is going to eventually start stumbling. It's going to feel weak. It's going to, yada, yada, yada. Basically make no power, right? And when you run into a situation like this where these pistons aren't really doing too bad, just everything else falls apart on them. They end up with vacuum leaks. The head gaskets start going, and they start consuming oil. But arguably, the way the emissions controls on these were set up versus these, you can see what's going on here. And then higher compression is also gonna play into a factor there that the pistons aren't really going to be as forgiving for crappy gas. So when you put crappy gas in it, it's not going to burn as efficiently. And, looking at this is years and years and years of people babying the car, probably not driving it. When people say, oh, you got to drive it and, clean the carbs out, this right here, a lot of this is grandpa going out and starting the car, letting it warm up, and then shutting it off, and saying, oh, well, I run it every now and again. Yeah, that's all fine and well, but the car doesn't like that. It wants to get out and run. It wants to go, let them ponies gallop, and as a difference, you can see this motor here. This motor here actually has a lot of indicators of being over-revved and idling for a long time. So it might have been a cop motor, it might have been a replacement motor for the cop car. I don't know. But regardless, the LT4, as I was peeling apart, when I pulled the head gaskets off and I saw all these pistons that look like this, I was like, oh my gosh. Tried to clean a couple of them off, and this was a while scrubbing on it. Without really, really scraping that off, or just soaking it in gas for a while, you really can't do anything. It's quite depressing, but it is what it is. There's not really anything you can do about it. It stinks. It really does stink. It really, really, it really irritates you. Just thinking that, if there were different ways that they, because the thing is, the thought process of this motor carried on into these motors, and even in the newer motors today, which are even worse. And this is happening inside of your motor, and there's no way to really correct it. I've seen people use seafoam, and I've done that myself and then scoped it afterwards. And it does seem to look like it works, but it doesn't work as well as, people on TV want to make you think it does. But, it does work, but it is what it is. But anyway, when this stuff cracks off and breaks off, it can jam things and, get stuck in a valve. And, the sad thing is, because the PCV valve, like intake manifold leaking and stuff like that, and LT1s are really bad for doing that. LT1, LT4, they're really bad for leaking intake manifolds. You have oil intrusion into the pistons, and this does happen. And the PCV valve is going to be one of your big culprits. But I do know that the LT1, when I took the intake manifold off, it was pretty loose. I know that when I changed my intake manifold on this motor, the bolts were like finger tight. It was bad. It was very bad. Realistically, if you've got an LT1 or an LT4, I'd snug up them bolts every now and again. Just kind of make sure that everything's kosher there. Whereas, you have these, and you don't have to worry about that. But, yeah. But anyway, let's go in here and I need to finish cleaning out here. The sad thing is, I get everything cleaned, and then I bring home a motor or something, and things end up getting worse, and then I clean it again. It gets fantastic, and then I clean it and, make sure it's nice and tidy. Then all of a sudden, bomb goes off in here again. This is what it is. So anyway, this is the motor, the LT1, that the pistons came out of. And all of them look like that. And then here's the LT4. I mean, I already honed them, but you can see the scratching. But anyway, it is what it is. It's not too bad. The 305, my grandpa's 305 is somewhere over there. It's not in good shape. The oil that is caked on it is it's bad. It's bad. It was so bad that you couldn't get to the bolts in the head to remove it was so sludgy. It was disgusting. Anyway, so that's all I got for this. So you have an LT1 or an LT4 in your Corvette C4. Your pistons probably look like that. And the intake runners probably look like that. It's, you know what, maybe the intake runners on this LT1 look like that. I don't know. Let me see. Maybe they look like that. Yeah, of course we can't see that. Let's get my glove on here. Let's not drop that. Ugh. Give you a guess. Yeah, kinda. Yep. So your LT1 probably looks like this on the inside of it. Yeah. I got a project I'm going to be doing with these. It's going to be awesome. Yep. I got that motor specifically for them heads. The guy was going to throw the motor away. I'm like, no, let me mess with that. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for this video. Questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. My understanding, these are forged rods. These guys right here, these are all powdered metal. 96, you have powder metal for all of the rods. But anyway, yeah, pretty cool. Questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. So I got a Corvette, and you're kind of looking at it.